thought it was a dog, and the coyote bit the baby in the face.
Yeah,
that was in
A couple of months ago.
Yeah. So I mean, with the kids, the thing is the coyotes themselves, they're not. 99% of the time, they're gonna run away from you. But if you have a kid or if you have a small pet, the coyotes, particularly to other dogs, they don't like other dogs. So if it's smaller than them, they will attack. Same thing with cats. They don't like cats. So if there's a cat that you have outside, or you let your cat outside, we normally advise to keep your animals in house at night. Don't let them roam, because then they're pretty much bait. Yeah, they'll come up missing.
Do they make noises like barks?
They do make noises, but they're not like the barks that you normally hear from dogs. Dogs are normally they're deeper barks. You can kind of hear them from a long distance. With coyotes, they're more like yips. They're more like yip yip yip, like that. You know, they'll howl, and you can hear them howl from a long distance. But they don't bark like we normally think dogs do. You know, so I just wanted to give you guys a quick background again. For me, like as I said earlier, because of things like this, because I got a chance to be outside and get involved in nature, that's the reason I decided to want to make it a career. You know, and I had to learn from people and get a lot of help from people across the board from where I'm from to really just grow this passion in it. So I'm originally from Los Angeles, a town called Pasadena. If any of you guys heard of it, or I watch the Rose Bowl or the Rose Parade every year. That's my hometown. So I'm used to coyotes because they live everywhere in LA. You know, when I was a kid, I'd walk the streets and there'd be a coyote a couple blocks down, walking the opposite direction, and we don't think about it. It is what it is. In Chicago, obviously, it's different because they haven't been here that long. They've been here for maybe 20 years.
Well, my husband saw one last year. He was walking our dogs, and he said he saw the coyote come from like where St. Scholastica's field is, and he said he kind of stopped, and then he looked, and he said then he trotted on across the street like he was just just visiting.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean that was kind of a shock because I didn't know at that time that they were out and about like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chicago State, like on that little bottleneck where like the Bishop Ford and I-94, even where the CSU hedges are,
Right.
they're like hanging around, in that little area.
Yeah, and I was telling Principal Jackson and Richard and Sherry that you guys are right next to Metro. You're right next to a main rail track for them. So coyotes, on average, they'll move anywhere from 5 to 25 miles a day. So that's Indiana past Soldier Field all the way up to the north side, and they'll use railways and things like that we built to get from one place to the next. One of the coyotes that we radio collared, the closest or the furthest ever been in the city is Soldier Field. That is the city. That's Chicago, and they're moving back and forth. Yeah, they're moving back and forth like it's nothing. And most people don't even know they're here. That's why they're so good. But yeah, so I personally, I went to LA, went to school in New York, and just started studying spiders. That's how I got my start. I started studying spiders, and I'm like, this is really interesting. I worked my way up to birds, and just got more immersed in the field and what it is to just like watch behavior. So right now my affiliations are just with the university, as I said, but I also work closely with Lincoln Park Zoo, and they have a lot of facilities not just to do research but also to do outreach. So we oftentimes urge students, not just at the University of Chicago, but students from other schools in the Chicago area, to come up to Lincoln Park Zoo. We have programs set up there as well. And hopefully a lot of the cameras we're going to be using are actually going to be from the zoo, so now that we can see where these coyotes are going and give everybody a little bit of peace of mind. But, so our goals and objectives kind of for this Nature Friday series, we don't have everything completely outlined yet, but just giving you an idea of what we think we're going to do. First, we just want to get the students excited about the science, kind of get them not just listening to a PowerPoint and then that's it, for an hour. We want to, give them some information in 10 minutes, and then after those 10 minutes, we go outside, because most of the science that I do, most of the science that my people do, we go outside. We get our information outside by watching the animals, by getting that information. So we want to get the students up and moving.
Hey, Chris?
Yeah.
And gonna add one. That's one of the main reasons that I've taken Beethoven under my wing. We've got to connect our students and even our parents to science, the impact of science. And in terms of the science arena, how many people do you see that look like us? And many of our students don't even think about that. We were just having a conversation about that just a little bit ago before we came down here. But I shared with them is that it is imperative that we take our education very serious, get engaged in it, and realize what we do today is laying the foundation for our tomorrow. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I mean, just to add on to Richard's point, you know, in my program, I am the only African American male. There's only one other African American female. I mean, right? Shocker, right? So, you know, 20 years from now, I'd like to at least get it to more than one. And hopefully, we can do that. You know, it's always you got to reach out, and then hopefully that'll make an impact.
And you didn't know that's the same way it was when I was up at the Chicago Retention. I was the only African American there for about 3 years. And one of my friends, a friend came there that he left. But you know, when I look around, I say, we've got to change. We've got to change this. And the only way it's going to get changed, somebody have a passion. We're going to do it. It's not if we can do it. It's going to do it.
I want to piggyback on that. I'm special ed, and most of our learning is through hands-on stuff. I've gotten excited about the Coyote thing because this is something in these kids, in our kids' neighborhood, and most of them don't travel outside this neighborhood. So I tried to get my boys kind of into it a little bit today, and I asked them to come this afternoon. I knew they wasn't going to come. But it's just so important for these kids to understand you don't have to have a 4-year degree.
Yeah.
You can get involved
Yeah.
in that study, and you can make a career of it. And it's the kind of thing that these kids would just eat up,
Right.
you know, because they're out there in it.
And to piggyback on what you were saying, when you were talking about the coyote being out there being injured, that was one of the discussions we had one day, looking out the window. Is it a dog? Is it a coyote? Why is he limping?
Well, I mean, it's exciting to me because I think about my babies and getting them involved in something that they can be comfortable with doing because the paper and pencil, we're not reaching our kids. So there's got to be something else that
And
we
when
can
you
do, and I'm
can
excited
engage
about
them
it.
in terms of
Engage
thinking
them,
about it,
right.
raising
Yes.
questions about it,
Yep.
and it goes on and expands. Then they can write a little bit about
Yeah.
it. You know, on and on. And it just becomes
It-
exponential.
Right.
Environment, right
Yeah.
in their, right in their backyard.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what's so
Right in their
exciting
backyard.
about it.
Yeah.
Because we know they don't get to travel far.
Right.
So we got something right here, you know, that they can get involved in.
Yeah, and I mean, again, for me, when I got into this, it was because I grew up in LA, you know, urban area, but we have nature in our backyard. Most people, when they hear nature, they think something that's in Africa, you know, on Savannah, and that's not always true. We got a lot of nature here, so.
I'm going to add one more point there, down. The thing is that as we think about plants, and that's part of the reason that we push together the garden, but when you think about plant materials, there's such a major transition going on in terms of planting, native plantings to conserve energy, to conserve water, and all of these factors. But that's also recreating some of that natural habitat that once was. And in doing so, you're going to also begin to attract even more of animals or insects and things that have naturally been here. Now, some people get afraid of, but those are also the very elements of the pollinators throughout our communities in terms of plants. And so that's where they grow. And at one point in time, communities, particularly around the urban environments, were designed around ethnicity. That's changing. Plant materials are going to merge and blend all of this here together. So we need to be an intimate part and an active part of that on a continuous basis.
Yeah, so I mean, Beethoven is awesome school for that. I think the way that you guys work with your students, I mean, I saw your rubric that you work with, smart boards. This is for the taking for these kids to get that agency to feel like they not only have, you know, their school that they're prideful about, but also the animals that live in and around their school. It's that, it's, right, exactly. The ownership to be able to feel like they can do things, and they can do things that most people think, oh, this is too hard, or this is way out there. No, it's not. It's right there. It's right there for the taking. So, you know, one of the things we want to do is provide the students and also provide you guys with the information that's necessary, not just on coyotes, but also on other wildlife. Because, you know, I'm assuming, and maybe you guys have seen it, maybe you haven't, you most likely have raccoons here, potentially some foxes, possums, bunnies, white-tailed deer.
Big cat rat.
Yeah, right.
Here too.
The cat rat.
Right. Right. And see, the thing is that when you start to see the coyotes, then it kind of comes full circle, because the coyotes come in when everything else comes in. So exactly. So the rabbits, the cats, the raccoons, they all create their own community, and the coyotes are coming in as the top predator that regulates all of that.
Right.
So you wouldn't actually be seeing them if we didn't have a healthy ecosystem. But clearly, since we are seeing them, that means that, you know, in 47th and State, we got a healthy ecosystem here. It's different than anybody's ever thought of before. So, you know, provide students, teachers, information, give you guys some of the tools to monitor wildlife. So I'll talk a little bit about what we're going to use. Next week I'll bring it in when we actually have the kids, so we can start setting up camera traps. And what these things are is wildlife biologists, ecologists, they use these small cameras that are motion censored. So whenever something walks by it, it'll immediately take a photo. Some of these cameras actually take video now. So you can take, you know, a 30-second video to see what the animal is doing. Or if somebody who's curious walks by the camera, you'll get pictures of people too, which has happened a couple of times. But I'll go into that in a little bit. And I think major thing obviously is just to have fun, because, you know, if we're doing this simply for education's sake, and there's no outside goal, like there's no overarching theme that we're trying to hit, then the students are just going to be like, oh, well, this is just another class. I'm not being tested on this. Why do I need to know this? Why am I excited about it? You know, we need to make it fun. We need to make sure that, like, the students are engaged and they want to keep coming back. Like, they want to be like, oh, this was really fun. I like going outside and, like, getting my hands dirty and finding pictures of coyotes that live in my school. Let's go do it again.
Right,
You know.
right. And what age group are we looking at?
So right now we're really interested in, you guys are 1st to 8th graders?
Head Start to 8th grade.
Head Start? Okay. So, I mean, I think that this can be amicable to all grades, because there are going to be some things that are just as simple as going outside and learning how to set a trap, you know, and that can be really, really simple. And we can go as detailed as saying, well, once we see the photos, what do we think the animal